Pacific Mornings on 5:31 PI.
Mga tato mapongpongini Manuel Tayao. Thank you for joining us on 5:31 PI and welcome to Pacific Mornings here with Gallo, your guest host for this morning. Now, we're getting straight into the show by welcoming Deputy Prime Minister Carmel Sepuloni for our regular catch-up on the issues of the day. And Carmel's joining us now. Malo tato mapongpongini Carmel. Welcome to Pacific Mornings and thank you so much for your time. I know it's early.
Mahalo. No, thank you for having me on the show.
Now, Carmel, Labour is pledging to give 4 weeks of paid parental leave to the partner of the main carer of a baby, on top of the 26 weeks paid parental leave for a main caregiver. Now, should you win this year's election, when would this be implemented?
So the new scheme will be phased in from the 1st of July 2024, and at that point leave can be taken either concurrently or consecutively with the primary carer. This is really important for our Pacific community. I have to say, a few years back I saw some research that showed there was a higher than others, number of Pacific men in particular who were falling out of work around the time that their partner would give birth to the baby. And so basically from what we could see from the research, it seems that they were ending their jobs for whatever reason to be able to take a few weeks off in those early weeks alongside their partner. We can try and assume why that might be. Maybe they didn't have enough leave, maybe they weren't in they were in contracted work. There could be a range of reasons for that, but this will make a difference to those that are employed and meet the eligibility criteria, and means that if they want to, if they need to, those first few weeks, they can actually take time off to help their partner with the baba and get paid parental leave during that time.
Carmel, why is this a policy Labour is wanting to push for? Is this a direct result of parents who have struggled through the early stages of parenting?
We have always been the political party that's championed paid parental leave. It was the Labor government that introduced it. We pushed for the change to 26 weeks. Here we are now adding additional time on top of that. It comes down to the values of our political party. We support families. We want families to be able to get ahead. We want parents and caregivers to be able to spend that time with their children and to have the financial support to do that.
Now, the Labour Party announced that it plans to remove the GST from fresh and frozen fruit and vegetables from April next year, Carmel, if it is, re-elected in October. Is the hope that more people will, opt to buy healthier foods as opposed to cheaper, unhealthy food?
Well, it's in recognition of the fact that food has gone up significantly because of the inflationary increases that every country is experiencing. And fruit and vegetables have been one of the areas that has seen a significant increase. It makes sense to us. Lots of other countries have exemptions with respect to their GST systems. And if there has to be a starting point, because we can't necessarily afford to cover all foods, then why wouldn't we start with fruit and vegetables?
What difference, Carmel, will this GST removal make specifically within our Pacific community, given it only, equates to about $20 a week?
So it's about this policy alongside everything else that Labor has either introduced as a government or we're proposing to introduce if and when we are re-elected. And so, it's not one policy that stands on its own merits. It's the whole package, I think, is really important to mention. So GST or fruit and vegetables alongside the Working for Families changes that we announced on the same day. That'll see the in-work tax credit increase by $25 and then the abatement threshold so more families can access it, go up over the course of time. And then, of course, there are the other things that we've implemented that could be at risk if we're not re-elected. Things like the getting rid of the co-payment on prescriptions, things like the free public transport for under 13s and half price for 13 to 24-year-olds. All of those things make a difference to families, alongside some of the things that we had already introduced earlier, things like free food in schools, period products in schools. That all helps alleviate the costs to households. And because of our Pacific community all too often being represented in the low to middle income bracket, it really does have an impact on them. And so it's all of the policies put together.
Carmel, was there anything announced from the cost of living package that Pacific people should be more aware of?
I think the working for family changes are really important. So the in-work tax credit will go up $25 per week to start with. Many of our Pacific families are on the lower incomes and so do reap the benefits of working for families and do fall within the income thresholds to be able to get working for families, including the in-work tax credit. And we understand that there are so many expenses associated with working, whether it be the petrol that you have to put into the car, the maintenance of the car, the childcare costs associated with your children being cared for whilst you work. And so the in-work tax credit is there to support families with those expenses that come with working.
Now, Carmel, you recently attended a fundraising event in Auckland for basketballer Stephen Adams' charity called the Sports Pathways Trust, which creates platforms and pathways that help young New Zealanders go on to further their education in their basketball, thereby creating their own legacies. How was the fundraiser? How was it being with someone like Stephen Adams? And do you know how much was raised?
Yeah, the fundraiser was awesome. It was an awesome room of people. First time that I'd met Stephen Adams, I am a tall woman. I am 6'2". So it is so strange to have someone towering over me because he is like 6'11". I'm just really proud of Stephen and the whole Adams family because of their accomplishments, but because also of their desire to give back to our people and to support our rangatahi. And that is what the charity event was about. Stephen was really clear about wanting to provide pathways for our young people to succeed in education and in sport, and about his role in needing to give back to support that. And so I just admire that approach and just the ethos by which this whole family live, really.
Yeah.
I think in the end they raised just under $170,000. And so to everyone that attended and was in the room to contribute to that, I know that he is grateful, and I'm grateful. We're all grateful for the generosity of the humans that were there.
Thank you so much, Carmel, for joining us so early this morning, and thank you for